on. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Hello and happy podcast day, Falcon Paladin.
Thank you so much. It is good to be here for another podcast day.
It's always good to be here, especially with a nice roasty toasty heater, keeping me cozy and warm in these cold winter days.
Ooh, that does sound nice. I remember the winter days. They are long gone.
Oh, winter is coming. Don't worry about it.
Yes, winter is always coming. Let's see how warm it is at 7 p.m. today. Oh, 83 degrees. Nice.
Oh,
Yeah. The hot days were delayed, but now they are here. So can't forestall summer.
it's actually pretty nice today. Apparently, it's 16 degrees, or that's like 60 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it's glorious. I mean, tiny bit on the chilly side.
a little bit.
Like under 60, I think is where it starts getting into like, should I wear a jacket? You know, that's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's up, Aki? 31 months of Prime sub. What up?
it's impressive.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good indeed. Yeah, it's getting to the point where I'm fighting with myself to turn on the air conditioning or not. It's am I sweating? A little bit.
But it's gotta be
Not that bad.
It's got to be the right kind of sweating, because it's not like a little bit of sweat where you just go, actually just gotta make myself a nice drink, you know, like
Yeah.
water, ice. It's great.
Little
Cools
ice
you down.
water, exactly. Perfect. Yep.
Yep. Or it's like, oh god, I need to turn the AC on or I die. Ugh.
Yeah.
How do the kids do? Do they like demand AC all the time, or are
They've learned.
They've learned. Okay.
Yeah. I turn on a ceiling fan, and the basement's like nice all year round. So
You just lock
and
them
there's
up
a
down there.
projector down there and stuff, and nice couch, and so
Fair enough. Good for them.
if they do complain about it, then I feel like it's serious. So I will turn it on because they know the drill by now. So yeah.
Fair enough. You trust them to self-moderate with their complaining. Excellent.
I kind of do. I don't know. I just feel like they've learned their lesson. Where like if they come to me and it's not, it's not a certain threshold of hot, and they're like, "Well, air conditioning." I'm like, "No." Then what are they supposed to do about it?
Turn it on without you noticing.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I hear that click. I know what that click means. It's like before any cool air starts coming in, I'm like, "Hey!"
They can't just turn it on down there, like away from you.
No,
Okay, so it's...
I don't think so. I don't think there's a way to do that. I'm pretty sure it's just whole house or nothing.
Okay.
It's just one unit, so
Fair.
yeah. Yeah. Anywho, we're
Anywho,
on opposite sides of the world. Good times.
it's true. It's very true. Man. So, should we get into StarCraft?
Sure, let's do it.
Because we have Group Stage 1 for GSL Season 2, 2023.
We do. They sent me the replays for those, and I was like, "Ooh, good." And none of them are longer than like 10 minutes. And I was like, "What are you guys doing? What is going on here? Play a macro game, darn you!"
I mean, who was playing in the... Because you would have only had the qualifiers. So, like, anyone there that you care about?
Let me pull up my folder real quick.
So the answer is yes, but
yeah,
probably...
generally yes. So
Yeah,
let's see. 2023 GSL qualifiers. We had. Oh my gosh, they don't label these. I forgot.
They don't
Dark was in
label
there. Well, it just says losers, finals, winners, finals, and you go in, and then they're labeled by individual matchup. You have to drill down a little bit further.
Yeah.
Creators in there. Solar
Sure.
and Gumio are both in there.
Sure.
This
Yeah.
is Gumio, who took second place in ESL Summer, man. Sue's in there. Not that Sue's done anything recently, but
Right, but I mean, do we care about Gumiho's like qualifying games if they're under 10 minutes? I mean,
Right. I don't know if I care about anyone's games if they're under 10 minutes. That's my problem. That's why I mentioned that.
right.
Ugh. Yeah, lame.
Hmm.
It's like, come on, dudes, you can better than this.
I mean, that just means you can cast an entire best of 3 in 30 minutes.
I can, but man, have I really trained my viewership to not care about best of 3s? I think. I don't know. Something's happened. Like, they would much rather watch one 20-minute game than a best of 3 that's like an hour. It's just, I don't get it.
Well, it's probably because one's 20 minutes, one's an hour.
Yeah,
it's best
so
of
it's either that it's too long. I don't know. Whatever.
Right. But if it's too long and they're not watching it, this is the perfect opportunity. You've now got a whole bunch of best of 3s that are not too long.
So, well, that's true. 30 minutes. 30-minute best of 3, basically, on average. I don't know. I'm tempted just to throw up like a 10-minute game and be like, how do you respond to this?
Go for
See
it.
what happens. Yeah.
Do it. Yeah. Throw up Nightmare versus Mondo game 1. I'm sure that'll be fascinating for people. Who's Mondo? No idea.
I know, right? I was going to say, who the heck is Mondo?
That's the point. That is the point.
It is.
There's so many
All
forfeits. I'm sorry, I was just looking at this and I see a bunch of players have FF in their bracket. I'm like, why did you forfeit?
Yeah, what the heck? Who? Anybody we care about?
No. Chance and Mondo.
Mm.
Mondo played against Nightmare, lost, went to the losers bracket, and then forfeited against Future.
Remember when Future was going to be good?
2016, maybe? 2018?
He was going to be good.
He's playing in GSL in the qualifiers, at least, I guess.
That's, I mean, better than that. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
It's hard, we know. That's funny. All right, so we got our groups for group stage 1.
Yes.
That's the important part.
Yeah, Group A. Oh my god, there's so many Terrans.
Patch Terrans, man. This whole patch is just Terrans all the way down. I don't know why.
Yeah. Half of Group Stage 1 is Terrans.
Yeah.
I really feel like there should have been an entire group of just Terrans. Like, I have a feeling that internally they try to avoid that because it's all mirrors at that point. But I really think they should do it. Just have them knock themselves out. Group A, Maru, Bunny, Classic, and TY.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
So Maru probably gets through.
Yep. I mean, Maru's the same every time. If Maru's playing at his peak potential, he's getting through. If he plays stupid, he doesn't get through. Which Maru do we get? Nobody knows.
You can only tell, you can only infer, you can't even tell with any sense of maturity, like by his previous tournament performance, like if it tends to run in streaks if he's not showing up, you know?
Yeah.
And he didn't do particularly hot in ESL. Like, who did he lose to? I forget. Gumio. So maybe TVT is not his thing and they threw him in the TVT group, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe Gumio does weird stuff in TVT. And Maru's like, what is this weird stuff? And then he was dead. That happens sometimes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I think Classic's got a chance against Bunny and TY. Certainly more than Bunny, I would feel. And
yeah, I think so.
I mean, TY is back from military, so I should probably include him. So it's probably Mario Classic.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's when I looked at it. That was my first impression. So yeah. So PVTs. So I was complaining to Laughing Games last night during the Africa World that like every PVT from the last year is like under 12 minutes. And it's like, this is the stupidest thing. I just want a long macro PVT, please. Just one.
No.
And then we cast Hero versus Beyond, and there were 2 20-minute games in there. And I was like, yes, 2. We got like to tier 3. It was amazing.
Those will be the only 2 you get for the next 6 months.
I know. It's so weird, that matchup. I feel like we used to get macro PvP. It wasn't, it's always kind of been a shorter matchup. But man, I remember stuff in early Legacy of the Void where there were tons of Liberators out, and there were I don't know, super late game stuff. EMPs were really important, and then I don't know. It feels like every turn in Protoss was like late game TVP sucks. I'm gonna try to kill you in 7 minutes every time.
Yeah.
So they're both doing it, and so you don't macro anyway.
I was trying to remember. There was a game I'm pretty sure I saw, and I'm trying to wonder if it was PvZ or PvT. But it went for an hour. It went for like an hour and 10. I'm like, that's a excessively long macro game.
Yeah, that's.
I want to say it was at ESL Summer, but I just can't remember who was playing.
If you can dig it out for me, I'd appreciate it, because seriously, PvT.
I mean, in theory, it should be easy to play because I'm going to spoil it for you. It ended in a draw. So they had to. So in theory, I should be able to look at just like all the matches, and whichever one had 4 games and a best of 3 played. You know.
Right.
But that's a lot of work to do at the minute.
Yeah, actively during a podcast. Good call.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So Group B, we have a Zerg. Holy crap!
My God.
Beyond Ragnarok and Nightmare. So Terran is a minority in this group, amazingly enough, but it's Beyond.
Yeah,
and it's Beyond and Hero. Oh, that's interesting. Because they
Is
just played at Afrika, and it was an
Oh.
amazing series.
I did not see that one.
Yeah, you came in a little bit after that. It was great though.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what's interesting too about it is that those 20-minute games, they definitely tried to kill each other in the first 7 minutes. They just couldn't. And then the counterattack failed too. And it's like, I guess we're going into late game then. It's not like none of the games. It was just like, we're going to sit back and macro up for 10 minutes and then we'll consider attacking, you know? Like sometimes happens in other matchups a little bit anyway.
Well, fair enough.
Yo. So yeah, I think Hero and Beyond there.
Hero Beyond. Yeah.
No faith in Ragnarok or Nightmare.
Yeah, I want to be optimistic about their chances, but I really can't. Like, I would say Ragnarok over Beyond if Beyond was doing a little worse recently, but he's not. He's actually doing pretty well for someone who has terrible chronic wrist issues. He's been really killing it. So, nope.
You didn't have to take a break for wrist issues once yesterday.
Really?
I was waiting. I'm like, okay, we're in the second 20-minute long game. Both players are macroing out of their minds. Beyond is going to have to ask for a break. No, he didn't. Not once.
Fair enough.
And spoiler alert, he won. So, like, he's doing all right, I guess. No crippling wrist injuries for him right now.
Fair enough.
Word.
Let's see. We've got Group C, Dark, Creator, Goomhero, and Special. Back to double turns.
Yeah, look at Special making it in again. What's up, Special?
Do we think Special will move on?
No.
No, I don't think so either. I think Dark and Goomhero, given how Goomhero's been going.
Agreed. And the way TVP's been going recently, too.
And
the way ZVP's been going. Like a lot of these ZVPs recently, it's just like masterclass in how to make Protoss look absolutely garbage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I cast a game with Cyril and Classic the other day. I think it posted yesterday.
Yeah.
And Cyril, like somebody gave Cyril a challenge to use every single Zerg unit in the game, and he did. It was honestly Lings, Banes, Ultras, Infestors, Broodlords, Vipers, Corruptors, Mutas. He had Swarm Host Nidus running around in there, little Roach Ravager groups, Hydras, and Lurkers. It was insane. I've never seen more unit types in a game before.
Okay.
And he just completely kept Classic hemmed in. Classic mounted 0 counterattacks the entire time. Cyril's just like, aha, Roach Ravager attack. And now over here, there's Hydras and Lurkers and Vipers. And oh no, the Swarm Hosts are launching in your base again. What are you going to do? And Classic was just like exploded. I kind of felt bad for him. It was rough.
Yeah, that's what you can do. You know?
Die.
I found the game, by the way.
Oh, good.
It was in EPT Masters Winter NA. Just if you want to go find the replay. But it was Uka Azarg versus Nina, the Protoss.
Yeah. Nina and who?
Uka.
What? Are you making stuff up?
UKKO. I saw this game because Pig did a video on it, and he like recast the original the stream. He didn't have the replay, but the reason why he did it was because it had the caster, which was cats yelling "You imbecile" when at one of the players by the end of it.
I like cats. That's hilarious. More
Yeah.
of that. More of that in live casting.
Yeah.
Uko.
Go.
An American Zerg player. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Has made a total of $5,000 playing StarCraft in 5 years.
Mm.
Not great.
Not amazing. But what are you gonna do?
Keep playing, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yep. But probably not as a Protoss. Might want to change races, buddy. If you want to make a little more money, you gotta play Terran these days. Ugh.
No, he's a Zerg.
Yes, that's right. Nina's the Protoss. That's a good point. He should probably still change. Just everyone should play Terran these days, I think.
Everyone should just play Terran. Agreed.
Yeah. TVTs, all the live long day.
All right. And then Group Z here, we've got Cure, Solar, Young, and Estrella. So that's actually a nice little balance there, too. Group C and Group D, little balance going on.
Yeah. Little squad of B tier players. And maybe B plus with Cure.
True fact. GSL winner Cure, you mean? Before the Terran patch, mind you.
But not after or during the Terran patch.
Correct.
So we've got fluke Terrans and patch Terrans, and I think I know which one Cure is.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So again, Solar historically has to get to the round of 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's his thing.
Yep. So Solar and Cure?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. No NA
I'm trying to
pride for
think of
you?
The last thing I saw some Ryung where I was like, let's go, but
Yeah, it's been a minute.
no. And I like Estrella. I wouldn't be shocked if Estrella beat Cure. I really wouldn't.
Oh, yeah?
Like, Cure's lows are lower than Estrella's highs.
That's
right?
fair. That's fair.
So if Estrella's on fire and Cure's not up to it that day, I think it can go down. I don't know, but that's unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I see they're sticking to the 3:30 my time start times for these.
Yes.
I appreciate that immensely. They used to mix this up, Somicron. They did.
They used to. Once upon a time.
They just they used to be like, we're gonna account for people in different parts of the world, and now they're like, screw that, screw multiculturalism. We're just doing it for Koreans. The end.
Well, you know,
I know.
the playoffs will start at half an hour earlier than that.
The same zone, man. 3:30. Like, we've talked about this. 2 o'clock, I can be like, well, I was just staying up later. And 4 o'clock, it's like, I could just wake up earlier. But 3 is this no man's land. Nobody stays up until 3. Nobody wakes up at 3. It doesn't make any sense. Those are baker's hours, man.
Yeah. I mean, here's the
weirdos.
thanks. I would wake up at 3 and watch these. Unfortunately, they're not on at 3. They're on at 7:30 p.m., which is great if you're just like you, but I have to be asleep at 7:30.
Right. So we share the same viewing hours available. So if it's bad for me, it's bad for you.
Well, I mean, if I didn't have work the next day, I could totally stay up at 7:30, right, and just be dead tired. But you know, it's not quite as bad for me, but it's still unwatchable by every measurable metric. You know?
Yeah.
It's disappointing. Disappointed in you, GSL.
Ugh, super gross.
Super gross.
Whatevs. July 6th and 11th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Good.
Well, no. What's 6th and 11th? Group B and C. A and D is 4th and 13th.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I
Like,
glossed over that. I don't know why.
are they doing 2 groups on 2 days?
Yeah, my
That
brain
seemed
was like,
wild.
you're gonna do 2 groups on the same day, but no, they're not doing that. All right,
Nope.
they could. It's not that hard.
Yeah, they definitely could.
I feel like they've done it too in the past.
I don't recall, but I'll trust you.
All right.
And I think that's all the StarCraft that's been happening.
Okay.
Unless you know something else.
I do not.
Okay.
And a Freak of World 102 came over. 102 came out yesterday. It was great stuff. Solar went temporarily insane and tried using the same build against Beyond 4 times in a row. And Beyond was like, "What are you doing?" And killed them 4-0. It was quite disappointing.
That sounds terrible for finals.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like, look, Beyond 4-0ing Solar, okay, understandable. But for Beyond to be like, I got my butt handed to me in games 1 and 2, and I tried this. Let's do it again. It was just really discouraging.
Did Solar? No, sorry. Did Beyond at least do something different every game? Like, did he handle it the same way, or did he?
Yeah, he pretty much. Yeah, same thing. Marine tank push at about 6:30. And that would get pushed away by Solar, but he'd take some bad trades, and Beyond would probably kill the third. Not every time, but killed a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Then Solar expands behind it and comes back, and he adds Liberators to the group. Then he adds Ghosts, and he's just dropping everywhere. And Solar's like, Spires are for chumps. Who needs a Spire? I'm going to get dropped in 4 of my bases at the same time and lose everything because I don't have a Spire. Yeah.
That's yep.
That's all I wanted. Like, do everything else the same, but make a Spire. Just do it.
You only have to make 1 muta, and he'll build turrets, and that could have been like 3 Marines, you know?
Right.
One in each base. That's 6 Marines. All of a sudden, you know.
Make him make a Thor. Like, make him change up what he's doing just a little bit. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah. Nope. Soul's not interested.
And like, he always died right when lurkers had just popped out, and there weren't enough of them to really make a difference. So like 3 of the games ended with "I've got lurkers," and then there's 2 of them, and they both die, and it's GG. And it's like, okay, neat.
Oh, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah, it was. Like, I love you, Solar, but there's a reason you're not one of the 4 best Zerg gunners right now.
Well, at least he made it to the round of 8 in Africa.
Round of 2. Well, there was a walkover. So he was supposed to play Classic, and Classic didn't show. So he made it to the finals by default. I don't think that counts.
So hold on, Africa was only like 4 people.
Yeah, that's what it always is. It's
I could have sworn
5s and then a best of 7 finals.
I could have sworn it was more than that at one point. Because I'm looking at the Africa TV Champions Cup 2 that's coming up in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's not us. We're Africa World.
Goddamn Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, the Africa World Invitational is always just 2 best of 5s and a best of 7.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, alrighty then.
Indeed. All right, what else is going on? The first episode of the MCU's Secret Invasion show came out last week.
It did indeed.
I'm just going to say it's like the most, I'm going to say adult.
I can see that. Yep.
Most adult thing the MCU has ever done.
Yeah. I mean, quite probably. It definitely felt like it was aiming for a very serious turn.
Yeah.
Like, and other times when they've tried that is like Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Not Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Where they have US agent and he's like beating people with the shield and there's like blood splatter and it's like, oh my god, look at this. We're trying to do a mature look. And then it's, kind of not worked. But this, like, episode 1 for Secret Invasion kind of nailed that, I think.
I think so too. There's 2 gun murders. 2. I don't know if there's ever been 2 gun murders in a MCU property before. I guess okay. So there's like Captain America: Winter Soldier, where Bucky's out there like just shooting indiscriminately into like crowds of people. Like, okay,
Uh-huh.
probably more people died there than guns. Fair. And like Captain America in his movie, he's got a gun. He's just shooting Nazis left and right. So that's probably more shootings too.
Right, but it's not Nick Fury shooting someone who might just be an art dealer.
Yeah.
Well, at least.
Oh, is it 3?
Yeah.
Dude, because Martin Freeman's girl shoots that dude.
Yeah, that's true.
Holy crap. I forgot about how many gun murders there were in this episode. There were so many.
Not only were they gun murders, I think there was terrorist bombings too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's. I feel like I really need to go back and rewatch Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. God, I hate those two names.
I don't think you do.
Just to remember the relationship between Nick Fury and Talos.
Here's what it is. Talos is like, oh no, the Krill? No?
Nope, Skrull.
Nope. The people who are oppressing him. The purple dudes.
The
The people that brainwash Captain Marvel. The Kree. It's the Kree.
Okay. I don't think so.
Yes, it is.
Because the Kree is the Guardians of the Galaxy, isn't it? Or do they double dip on that?
They're in Guardians too, right?
Oh, okay. Okay, they double dipped. All right.
Yep. Okay, so it's the Kree who have displaced the Skrulls and made them refugees, and they're hiding out.
Mm-hmm.
And the Krees are trying to hunt them down.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nick Fury and Captain Marvel are like, come hang out on Earth and we'll find a new home planet for you. And that was in like 1992.
Right. Which is a weird, it is a terrible offer when they don't have any spacefaring technology or any way to like survey a planet that might be viable for them and be like,
yeah, except then
go
Captain
there.
Marvel spends the next 3 decades tooling around the galaxy with her superpowers, doing whatever the fuck she wants.
Right. But she wasn't the person.
No, there's no surveying powers available.
No. Nick Fury makes that promise. Nick Fury makes that promise. Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D.
She did too.
Right, but then she just buggers off for 30 years. And she found places to live in that time.
Yep.
Right. She just never comes back.
Look. Nope. It's not a good look for Captain Marvel. Look. This is where the Marvel writers did not think this through.
No.
Right?
No, of course not.
They create a Captain Marvel story that's set 30 years before anything else that happens in the MCU.
Because they also want to do Nick Fury backstory at the same time.
Yes. And someone has the idea, oh, yeah, we'll just have Nick Fury and Captain Marvel make a promise to the Skrulls they'll find a new planet for him.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, that should be pretty easy. Captain Marvel can fly like faster than the speed of light, so that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got dropped. It was never thought of again. Until this show, we're doing Secret Invasion, and there's Skrulls, and oh crap! Didn't we promise to get them a new homeworld in 1992? That's what happened.
Mm-hmm. But it's just like Nick Fury has a very personal relationship with Talos here, and like they've definitely hinted at because Nick Fury after Endgame was like, I'm gonna go hide in a spaceship, and we have no idea why, right? So and Talos is down pretending to be Nick Fury, and it's like, okay, so they've clearly got some kind of relationship. And in this movie, they're like, my long lost brother, it's good to see you again. How goes the good fight and sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, I expected there to be something in this movie that I've simply forgotten that gives them a sense of brotherhood more than just we killed some Kree or whatever. Kree.
Yeah, that's it. At least as far as they've shown us. Maybe they've had barbecues together and they've had guys' nights and stuff and watched old movies. I don't know.
Maybe.
But all they've showed us has been that thing happened in 1992. And they're best buds forever now. That's kind of how dude relationships work though, right? I haven't seen you in 2 decades. We're best friends. Right?
Right. But he's also making reference to his wife, and I'm like, am I supposed to remember who this was? Is she in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. His wife and child are in Captain Marvel.
Okay, because his child seems to be pretty important in this one.
Yes.
Which
she is a child in Captain Marvel because it was 40 years ago.
30 years ago, I think we said that. But
yeah, Right. Sorry, I was exaggerating for comic effect.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to think if the child in 30 years can go from child to like, is she supposed to be a young adult or like just adult?
Amelia Clark is a full-blown adult. She's
Exactly.
just the size of a child. It's not her fault. She's like 5'2".
No, that's not the point I was making. I mean, my point was Amelia Clark.
She's a grown child. Yeah.
Yeah, she like are we? But because they explicitly mentioned that the Skrulls don't age like we do because Talos is only in like the 40s of his age. I'm asking how old is the Skrull of Amelia Clark? Is she supposed to still be in like her rebellious teen phase, or is she just like an adult who's like, I'm ready to move out, Dad? You know?
Right. That's an excellent point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she's at least like 15 or 16, right?
Yeah.
Just based on the way that Dad talks to her and her confidence and her independence, like any younger than that, I think it's kind of weird, right?
Right.
Okay. But she could also then be like 22 or 23 in Skrull years.
But I'm just trying to like work out the math that Talos is 130, and that makes him less than 40. She's maybe 40, and that makes her 20.
Microphone.
Oh. Yep. You back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So in the comics, they live for like 200 years.
Okay.
I'm gonna see if that's any different than the MCU because they do like to change stuff like that up.
But I don't think they've necessarily said.
No, they haven't. It's just like they possess a lifespan that exceeds humans. Thumbs up! Thanks, guys.
So does anyone in those movies.
Right. Whatever. We don't know. Yeah. But if we say it's 2.
Okay.
So then she was 8 in 1992 in human years.
So now she's add 15-ish. So we say 23, 22, 23.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. So she's an adult wanting to strike out on her own, but really lacks the experience or wisdom to know what she's doing.
Yeah.
Is that what we're supposed to think?
Yeah, I mean, that's who joins causes like this, right? It's not 60-year-old men who are like, sign me up for this rebellion.
No, they're the ones leading it, typically.
Right. Right. She's not leading it. She's apparently important. And I'm wondering if she's important because she's the daughter of Talos, or if she's important because they think she's worth making important, right?
Like, okay, so they're clearly not like... They show that they've got like 500 Skrulls just like chilling in this one abandoned nuclear power plant in Russia. Which is interesting. Like, I am curious as to like how do Skrulls get to the planet, but they haven't known about how many there are, you know? Because that 500 seems like a lot. And when you have 500 Skrulls, why is the circumstance just that like, oh hey, it's Talos' daughter who's the important one? Like, surely there are other operatives, someone who is less vulnerable to emotional manipulation from your direct enemy, you know?
Right. That's definitely a risk, but it really seems to me like they're willing to risk that because she is such an emotional weak spot for him. Like it's a double-edged sword. It's going two ways here. And I think they're trusting that she's capable of handling it and they know that he can't. And he proves it. Like when he catches her and she's going up that ladder, like he drops his gun. He tells her, you know, does he give her one more chance? Does he say that? Or I don't know what that dialogue was exactly.
Yeah, it's like come back, you know. You're not too far gone or whatever. Although I mean, God, I couldn't imagine having like a child who doesn't know their mother's dead, right? Been gone away long enough for that. and then to be like, oh, I've caught this person with 2 dirty bombs. They're going to kill tons and tons of people. Yeah, maybe I don't shoot you. And then it's like, sure, guns kill, but just like, I don't know, put it in her leg.
Yeah. It's kids, man.
It's true.
It screws up parent brains real bad.
Actually, well, I mean, so the Skrulls are interesting because the Skrulls can't tell when a Skrull is doing the mimicry thing, right? Like, what if that's a reveal later in the show that person is just pretending to be Talus's daughter? It's actually just Amelia Clark is just a human, right? Because we don't see her body in like one of those tanks,
Stasis pods, yeah.
Stasis pods, you know.
Yeah,
and
she's
she's actually like a shield agent undercover or something. That would
like,
be crazy.
I understand that they don't want to have to put all these actors in prosthetics and tons of makeup.
Right.
So they put that line in there that's like, the longer you're in your human form, the harder it is for people to tell that you're a Skrull. And it's like, oh, genius. Now we don't have to show anyone as a Skrull. But it would have been, you're right, it would have been nice for Amelia Clark to like change into her Skrull form for like 2 seconds.
Right. Because we're totally...
Yeah, because that's the whole problem with this show. Is that we don't know who's a Skrull. People that say they're Skrulls could not be Skrulls.
Right.
This is going to drive everyone insane.
Right. But back to the parenting thing. It's like a parent wouldn't shoot their child on any circumstance because it's their child. Yeah. But if you can't tell that that's your child, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Talos might have taken the shot at the start, you know? Like, he deliberately misses as like a warning.
Yeah.
But he's also I don't know.
The risk though. It's not about I know this is my daughter, I'm not going to shoot her, versus I'm not sure this is my daughter, so I'm going to shoot her. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not how that works.
No. I mean, I think Talos' character is very much specifically, I don't want to kill any Skrulls. Because he didn't want the art dealer to get shot, and he was actually upset with Nick Fury when Nick Fury intervened and shot him. And he's like,
yes,
because their people's like on the edge of extinction anyway. Like, he doesn't want to hurry that along. But
right.
At that moment,
it's like a twofer, man.
Right, but you can just like put one in the leg. You don't know who the Skrull is. You can like take the dirty bombs off and then send them to hospital, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, the plot has to happen.
Correct. Plot has to happen. I mean, they needed to have that time. We needed to establish their relationship again because we couldn't rely on Captain Marvel to do that for us.
Right.
So they had to do it, but I wish they'd been smarter about it. Some way for them to communicate where he can't stop a terrorist attack at the same time. Yeah. Poor Talos. Poor Ben Mendelsohn.
Man, I really like him as an actor. Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, it's that guy. I love that guy.
Admiral Krennic on Rogue One.
Oh, yeah. He was great in Rogue One. Oh, good times.
Oh, man. Yeah, he is super great. I like him a lot. So here's a question for you. Podcast I listened to posed this one. So he gets caught by Olivia Colman's MI6 agents.
Okay.
Olivia Colman's great, by the way. I love her so much.
You know, hold on. I do love Olivia Colman, but the last thing I think I saw her in, right, which wasn't Broadchurch, where she's also fantastic, was Doctor Who, where she also is in a single episode with shapeshifters who can take the minds of people.
She's like, it'll be just like Doctor Who, I'm in.
So I just had some serious like double takes where I'm like, oh, that's what, yeah, okay.
Like, I've seen this before somewhere. That's weird. Where have I seen this before? That's really funny.
Anyway.
I like that. So, okay. So everyone's telling Sam Jackson, everyone's telling Nick Fury that he's old and washed up and done. And that he abandoned Earth for like, I don't know, years, it seems like.
Seems like.
And people had no contact with him whatsoever. And now he's back and he's trying to do his spycraft stuff again, but he's old and he's limping and he's not as sharp as he used to be.
Mm.
So here's my thing. He's walking all over Olivia Colman's office, touching everything.
Right.
Puts a spy camera on the eyeball of a bronze statue of an owl.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A scene later on, Olivia Colman's talking with one of her under people and being like, "Oh yes, here's important information about the dirty bombs."
Right.
We think she did that on purpose.
Do we?
She knows about the spy camera and she's trying to feed information to Nick Fury, or is she not capable of finding a spy camera over in the general area where Nick Fury was pawing all of her stuff? Right?
Well, so Olivia Colman is a new character for the MCU. Yeah, she hasn't like turned up somewhere else. Okay, but they clearly have a relationship in some sense.
Correct.
So she probably knows what Nick Fury is capable of. Uh-huh. She's not adverse to the idea of them having a team up. Like, she talks about it. She's just like, I think you're too old. You're so old, Nick Fury. You're so old that this couldn't work. You're gonna go nowhere with this information. But I don't know. I don't think that the show definitely says in like broad terms in cinematic language that she does not know, that they are having this private conversation and Nick Fury is leeching this information.
Because that ruins her character then. It just does. I'm sorry. I do not take her seriously as any kind of a super spy, MI6 competent agent if she can't find a friggin' spy camera that Nick Fury obviously left on something over there. That's all I'm saying. I can't do it.
You can't.
And that's the thing. On the podcast, they said, I'd like that to be the case, that Olivia Colman knows about the spy camera, but I don't know if the writers at Marvel are capable of doing something that complicated. So it's like...
Well, okay, so did you think in Avengers that Nick Fury, super spy, wouldn't have noticed Tony Stark slipping a computer chip virus thing to start hacking them on the bridge of the helicarrier when he was like running around just touching things? You know, they wouldn't have noticed.
I think he noticed, but also he needed Tony to do the Avengers thing, and calling him out for it hurts that larger goal.
But not calling him out effectively almost broke up the Avengers at the get-go when they realized that Nick Fury was building weapons. Like,
right.
Leaving it would have been way worse. I don't think Nick Fury knew. Actually, now that I think about that scene, I don't think Nick Fury's there. I think Maria Hill is there, but she's also like a super spy, and then Nick Fury walks in later with someone else, with Banner or Captain America or something.
I think it's Banner, Yeah, okay. But, okay, I mean, that brings us to a Maria Hill discussion that I think we kind of need to have.
Okay.
But to back it up, I got to be honest. I think if Olivia Colman doesn't find that spy camera, it's not even stealthy, Somicron. It is humongous for a spy camera. And obviously pokes off of the surface of this owl statue in a way. And look, they have to do it that way so the audience is like, a spy camera! If it's too small, then they're like, what was that? What did he do? They needed to telegraph it to us, right? Don't get that.
I mean, the problem I have with this is that it's he puts it on an eye so that way it visually makes sense to a person watching the show that is a camera, right? Like, because then they look at it and it's shooting like a 3D projection, and I'm like, that is just way overcomplicating it. While you were pretending to be unconscious on their couch for a little bit or something, you could have just left a regular bug and just had an audio listening device that is way smaller and way easier to hide.
Noticeable.
Yeah, you don't have to leave it somewhere on a surface of something and just hope they're pointed at it, because the whole point of getting a camera in is that you can also see what they're doing, but what you see is them happening to have a conversation standing in front of this owl, which there was no hope that they necessarily would do.
Agreed.
So my heart says Olivia Colman knows, right? My brain says no.
Yeah, and that's where I am. I'd like for her to be an amazing super spy who figured out what he did there, but I don't think the show wrote it that way. No.
Do you
So-
think Nick Cage, not Nick Cage, Nick Fury? I would love to see that, like AI rescaled or imposing Nick Cage onto Nick Fury. I think that would be funny. Nick Fury actually did go out for a walk and was like, "I'm going to let myself get kidnapped by these other spies." Do you think that's a thing?
I don't know. That's a tough one to read because he says that, but like he says a lot of things.
He does.
Yeah, I don't. The show. Okay, the way story structure works is that if all the characters are telling your main character that they're old and washed up and can't function as what they're doing anymore, then the reality is that they can,
Yeah.
right? And that they're putting on a fake. They're making everybody think that he's washed up so that he can be more effective.
Right.
So in that sense, to this point, I'm going to trust that Nick Fury is a super spy until he's not. And if this is a story about the sad decline of Nick Fury, then that's kind of cool too, actually. But they haven't showed us that yet.
All right. Also, what happened to Nick Fury's leg?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, because in Spider-Man: Far From Home, Talos is copying the body of Nick Fury, but if Nick Fury had a problem with his leg at that point, he would copy the limp. Like, he copies his bad eye, so it makes sense that...
Well, I mean, but that's been a part of his persona for 30 years, right?
Right, but how much can a scroll fix the physiology of a person that they're copying? Probably
I
a
assume
lot.
they can do whatever they want with it, yeah.
Because they don't lose their physical strength when they swap into it.
Right.
Because they... In Captain Marvel, one of them transforms into like a little old lady on the bus and then gets into like a fight with this 90-year-old geriatric woman.
An anime fight on the bus, right?
Yeah. So I'm just wondering. I'm trying to fit in like what the hell happened to Nick Fury that made him so washed up. You know, obviously they're playing this like, oh, the blip scared him. That like one day there will always just be someone who you can't see coming, who you can't stop, who's just gonna ruin everything. Like, which I guess, sure. That's okay, I guess, for Nick Fury. I feel like that's the kind of thing they would have put onto Iron Man, because that's essentially Iron Man's path is like, oh, I want to build a suit of armor around the world, and that pushes and drives him to make Ultron, and that's a big failure, and then he's like stepping away. You know, we've been down that path, and it didn't turn. It's just, I don't know why they like. It feels like it's come out of nowhere because Nick Fury for Endgame historically was dust. So blaming all this character progression on a movie that he's basically not in, and we're just like supposed to think that he like thought himself into, you know, post movies off screen is a little.
Yeah. It's. I mean, this is totally a Marvel Phase 4 property. The way it was written and the way it's being shot and stuff. It's very the effects of the blip. It's very much the legacy of Tony Stark, right? It's
Right.
weird, but we're in Phase 5 now because they can't do these things in order anymore, I guess.
No.
This should have come out in Phase 4. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that feels like we should be done with it already.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so the next big question is Amelia Clark is like, okay, I've had a change of heart. I'm going to betray the rebellion. I'm going to tell you about these dirty bombs, right? And I'm going to mark the bags that have bombs in them with this, whatever spray stuff.
Infrared spray.
Infrared.
So hold on. So she goes out into Moscow, gets these 2 dirty bombs from someone, takes them back to their hideout, and then the next day, like, all right, we need to pass these off again.
Yeah.
I feel like that's incredibly inefficient, you know?
So you just time it to where you pick up the bombs and then take them directly to the side of the bombing?
I feel like that's more convenient, right?
Probably. It would save time, yeah. I agree.
It's also like Amelia Clark is then carrying them to other people who she has to like pass them off to again. You know, like why couldn't you just have the bombs and give them to different people at your base. That way, people can't spray all of them with
Infrared spray. Yeah.
or tracking devices. Like, and then you guys can split up and just plant the bombs coming from separate directions. You're less likely to be noticed. I don't know. I feel like their plan to bomb this space was a little wonky, just so that like Nick Fury and Maria Hill and Talos could be there and be like, "Oh no, we can't stop it."
Mm-hmm. It's a wonky plan that totally works. So
Yeah.
so that's off-putting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the larger question is, did Gaia betray her father there, right? Because she says the bombs are in the bags that are spray painted with infrared spray. They get a couple of the bags and there's nothing in there.
Right.
There's no way she's carrying empty bags and thinks they're empty.
Right. Well,
right.
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
a dirty bomb can't weigh nothing.
Right. So they didn't play her. They didn't say, here's the dirty bomb, and there's nothing in there because they know that she betrayed them, right? They're not trying to use her that way. So either she's carrying empty bags, fully deceiving her dad.
Or this other Skrull leader whose name escapes me.
Garrick or something.
Yeah, he knows that she's betrayed them and has like used her to like lure out Nick Fury and Maria Hill and Talos to try to kill them as well.
Right.
Which that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it all goes bad and everything explodes. And okay, my last question for the episode is
Dramatic cut.
back. That was dramatic tension.
Yep.
Before I ask my question. So Skrull Rebellion leader trims himself into Nick Fury for the last one.
Right.
He has the same gun that Nick Fury has.
A generic pistol, yes.
But it's not. It's visually the same. Did he go out and get a gun that's exactly the same as Nick Fury's for this very moment? Or can they copy stuff that you're carrying when they copy? Because they can copy your clothes.
They can copy your clothes. That is true.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they can, like, again, I don't know how this works, right? It's like Mystique in X-Men. She can copy Logan, and that somehow also gives her claws, but they're not adamantine because Logan's claws go right through them. And like, is that the equivalent of chopping off one of her fingers when she changes back to her own form? Is she missing a bit because like she lost her claws?
Right.
So I have no idea. I would need to rewatch Captain Marvel to see how they establish the rules of transformations, because I could have sworn there was like a touch thing or something that like they have to get contact with you or see you closely and really like take in the details or something to transform into you. Because that would just imply that he was close enough to Nick Fury to see the gun that he had, or has enough knowledge to know that the kind of firearms Nick Fury likes to carry. Because I feel like generic pistol, which looks like I think it's like a Glock 16 or something, right?
Yeah.
Is just the kind of weapons that Nick Fury packs, you know? And he's like, okay, well, I can just go out and buy something similar.
Right. But at the same time, when he's the little girl, he's carrying a huge ball.
Also true. Also true.
So what I'm worried about is, this is a question that we've asked that they have not asked. That the writers are like, and then he turns into Nick Fury and shoots Maria Hill, and no one was like, but how did he get the gun? Doesn't matter. We're not asking that question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Nick Fury's wandering around the streets looking to get picked up, is the little girl with the ball also him, or is that just a little girl with a ball?
Nope, same little girl.
Same little girl, you reckon?
Which I was like, that's a scroll. It is like 10 p.m. in Moscow.
Uh-huh.
Freaking 10-year-old little blonde girls out on the street playing with a giant bouncy ball. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah.
I mean, what time is sunset in Moscow?
I mean, depends on the time of year.
It's
Not
clearly,
winter, I guess.
yeah,
There's no snow.
because that's the point. Maybe it's only like 4 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Because at the moment, sunset in Moscow today will be at 9:18 p.m., which that's a late sunset.
Yep, because it's summertime and they are deep into the northern hemisphere.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means that scene has to be after 9 p.m. Like, which means why is that little girl up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, there's a difference between up and awake and out on the street throwing a ball around. Like,
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah. So that was just a little overt showing off, I think, from that scroll leader right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so Maria Hill.
Okay.
It's a weird thing with her because she's been involved in the MCU for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the original Avengers movie
Mm-hmm.
for like 10 minutes of screen time.
Right. Mm-hmm. She
Then she just does these tiny little, almost guest starring parts in a couple other films.
Uh-huh.
And she's in a bunch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., kind of.
Sure.
I read that she has a couple episodes that are like her-centric, but not, like the vast majority of the episodes are not the story of Maria Hill, right?
Right.
So I just, it's very weird that she's been in the MCU for as long as she has and has had so little relative screen time. I don't know if anyone has a lower minutes to years in the MCU ratio. You know what I mean?
Sure, but that's kind of the nature of a supporting character, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's other people who are similar ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like coincidentally, Everett Ross, Martin Freeman's character.
Right. I would put up there Gwyneth Paltrow these days. Like in the letter of the after the Iron Man movies, like even in Iron Man 3, she's not in it a whole lot, but like she famously didn't know which of like the Spider-Mans and the like Civil War and all those movies she was in because apparently they block filmed all of her stuff, and she didn't know she was in Endgame because she's in it for 45 seconds and you know.
There's the scene at the house, and then there's the scene where Tony dies. So it's maybe a minute and a half, but yeah, you're right.
That's over 2 movies, you know.
Right.
So
that's Endgame because they come to Tony and they're like, "Hey, time travel," and he's like, "Rrr," and Gwyneth Paltrow's there. She's like reading a book on the couch.
Is she? I don't remember her being there because I think they're like. I think Tony goes, like, Papa's got lunch on, you're welcome to stay if you don't talk shop. And I think they don't show her.
No, they totally do. I'll bet you $10 she's there.
I'm not. Okay, look, I trust you. I'm just saying, it's still there. It's not a lot. She's more mentioned because, like, at the opening of Endgame, Tony Stark is like, "Hey, Morgan, what you got there? Your mummy's hat? Oh, you got that from the garage. She never wears the stuff I make her." And then it's like, and then we didn't see her until the final fight, you know? Like, she keeps getting...
She's in a suit, so we don't see her face.
Yeah. She's they block filmed all of her stuff. And, like, the Spider-Man movie where they're, like, going to announce Spider-Man as, like, a member of the Avengers, but then he declines. Like, they filmed all of that all at the same time.
Yeah, which is hilarious. Like, "Hey, Gwyneth, we need you to come in for, like, 3 days and just shoot on this soundstage just for 3 days straight, and you're done."
By all accounts, she is an awful person, so it doesn't surprise me that they're just like, "You're not worth recasting because you're not that expensive anyway, but we don't want you around the whole time."
She is. I mean, she is 100%
on the couch
contender for this list.
Okay.
No, I just on the list of in the MCU for the longest amount of time with the smallest number of minutes.
Right.
Hang on, I'm going to pull it up on Disney Plus real quick. This is driving me crazy.
Agent Phil Coulson also gets that list since they retconned that he didn't die in Avengers. So,
Did he die in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. though?
no, I don't think so.
He's still around?
He's still alive. He just hasn't shown up in years.
Okay, so I think you have it. It ends at your last appearance in the MCU. You can be alive, but it doesn't count if you're not on the screen. Is that fair? No?
I mean, because I don't know when the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is set, right? Like, I don't know how long that continues on
It's
for.
right after Avengers.
Okay, is it only set right there?
Film.
Is it only set? Okay.
Oh, well, and then it goes through Civil War. The whole point is it's supposed to be this companion piece to the MCU movies that are coming out.
Right.
So it deals with the after effects of Civil War and the after effects of Age of Ultron.
And
then I think it fizzles out. Yeah, I always felt like it was a stupid idea because it's like...
Yeah. It's
all the
incredibly stupid
superhero stuff without the superheroes. Why are we doing this?
Right. Also bringing back... retconning Agent Coulson's death is incredibly stupid as well.
It's bad. It is actively trying to destroy the first Avengers film. Because his death is the impetus that brings them together.
Right.
And if you're like, nah, he's fine, then it's like, oh, it was all fake? Okay. Okay, so yeah, Gwyneth is totally in Endgame. It's after he puts Morgan to bed.
Yeah.
And then he goes down, and yeah, like she's just on the couch, and they have a conversation for like...
Oh, right, she's reading a book about gardening or something, like a horticulture.
Yeah, that's it. And he's like, well, I guess I should tackle this time travel thing. And she's like, have fun. The end.
Right, that's the thing. She's in there for 40 seconds. That's not huge.
Right.
She's
been here since Iron Man 1.
Yeah, which means she's been there the whole time, even longer than Maria Hill.
Yeah. Not the whole time, because technically, like Hulk and...
Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk doesn't count.
The Hulk doesn't count.
So I found a Tumblr blog that talks about the characters with the least amount of screen time.
Okay. Ben Wong.
Patton Oswalt's Agent Eric Koenig has 12 and a half minutes of screen time, period.
In who is that?
In an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode. Okay.
I think if they're exclusively to
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think you can count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think that's okay, but only if it's a character that appears in more than just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't care. It's like someone who you would recognize across multiple movies, which like Wong from Doctor Strange is also in like Endgame, but only for like a few minutes. Is also in
She-Hulk.
He's in She-Hulk. He's also in
No Way Home.
No Way Home, and in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but he spends most of his time like in captive or like holding a spell or something. I don't really remember. That movie's kind of all over the place. Which also means Peggy Carter could be on that list since she's in Multiverse of Madness.
She dies in
Civil War.
Is it Civil War or is it Winter Soldier?
Civil War, because they go to her funeral and that's where he meets Sharon. And he
doesn't meet Sharon
no.
after Peggy's dead?
No. Sorry, he meets her there, and that's where they start talking about the stuff with Bucky.
Okay.
I recently rewatched that movie, but it put Shannon Carter in the first Captain America movie, Endgame, because she's also technically alive there at the end when Cap goes back to like forget about being a superhero and like live his life with
Peggy.
Peggy, yes, excuse me.
Okay, you said Sharon. I was like,
too many goddamn Carters.
Yeah.
Peggy. She also had her own TV show.
Did?
Yeah. The Carter Show. I think I can't remember what it's called. It's like,
oh, you're right.
Agent Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
Agent Peggy or something.
What is it called?
Marvel's Agent Carter.
Easy
Yeah.
enough. Yeah.
Yep.
That I did not watch.
So she gets a ton of screen time in that, but you know, other than that, not a whole lot.
Sharon Carter's another good one though.
Yeah, I know the character who's been in the most Marvel movies with the lowest amount of screen time.
Stan Lee?
Stan Lee, exactly.
Yeah.
It's absolutely him.
Yeah, 100% him.
Mhm.
100% him. But yeah, there are some people in there. Yeah, okay, so this is kind of fun because Sharon Carter is in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
She is apparently the power broker in that show.
Yes.
And so podcast I listened to is like, please make her a Skrull because that makes no sense for her character. And if she's really a Skrull there, it would answer all of my questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's a likely one.
Yeah. It really annoyed me that they gave her like the heel turn to being like the power broker in a later show when an evil twist in Captain America would have made way more sense in Civil War, right?
Totally.
It would have been so good. But they cut that. Or they didn't film it or they didn't write it, but either way it wasn't there. And I am disappointed. I am disappointed.
So funny. Holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm finding lists of people with the smallest amount of screen time in the MCU, but they all end at like 2019. It's like, but I want this up to date.
Yeah, Happy Hogan gets a lot in the first. He gets a lot in the first two Iron Man movies, but not a whole lot in the rest. But he still keeps like popping up as like, "Hey, Peter Parker, gonna take you to Germany," you know?
Yeah, he's in Civil War. He's in No Way Home. He's in Homecoming.
Yes.
And Far From Home.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
And he's in Endgame.
Yeah.
At Tony's funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's basically Iron Man, Spider-Man adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a movie with one of those dudes, he's probably in there too.
Yep.
Has he been outside of an Iron Man or a Spider-Man movie at all?
I want to say he gets like a cameo in an Avengers movie at least. Like, oh look, there he is.
But Spider-Man or Iron Man are in there, right?
Right. Well, okay. Well, I wasn't counting those as default Iron Man movies, even though the Avengers movies are like kind of definitely default Iron Man movies.
Yep.
No, I don't think he does.
That's weird. That's a weird quirk for his character.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through his
Filmography?
appearances, and like every screenshot, it's either like Tom Holland or it's Robert Downey Jr. That's who he's hanging out with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's right. That is interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in Infinity War and Endgame.
Which is an Iron Man Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Iron Man 3, Iron Man 2. He was in John Carter, but that's not got any relation to Peggy Carter.
Right.
Yeah, no. You could count him as being in the 2003 Daredevil movie as Foggy.
Okay, so back to the original point, Maria Hill.
Sure, Maria Hill.
I feel like I should feel more when Maria Hill dies.
Mm.
She's been around for 11 years now.
Okay.
She's been a mildly interesting character.
Um,
she gives Nick Fury shit. She's not just a yes woman. She has a mind of her own.
Sure.
I'm not saying she's incredibly deep. I'm just saying there's something there.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in
She's
agreement.
Not just a stooge.
Well,
So then she gets shot, and I'm like,
she's a Skrull.
but she's not, because if you kill a Skrull who pretend to be a human, they revert back to Skrull. They
Right.
that.
But she's not dead. She's just wounded.
Twist.
Look, if there's anyone with
worse.
plot armor in this show, it's going to be the person who's in like 12 different movies and has never died. You know.
Yeah. She got blipped with Nick Fury though.
That is true. But not
Kind
me
of
much.
dying. Yeah.
That was the first time I died.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. I feel like they could have done a better job. I don't know, but what could they have done? Give us more time with the character. She doesn't. We don't understand who she is at all.
She is a dedicated SHIELD agent. And then
Right.
after SHIELD's collapse, she is a freelance intelligence officer working with Nick Fury as part of his personal staff. That
Right.
is kind of what she is.
She's just part of his personal staff the whole time, whether Shield's around or not.
Well, she's not always there when SHIELD's there. Like, when Nick Fury has to pretend that he dies in Winter Soldier, he sends her like a coded message to be like in New York, deep cover, like without SHIELD knowing. So she's always working for him, but she isn't always around when she's technically tasked to other places.
Fine. She's Nick Fury's right-hand man.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of it when they're playing chess, and she's like, "Dude, you abandoned all of us and me. Like, what the hell?"
I feel like that was a good setup of character to be like, oh, okay, this person has a personal relationship here with Nick and is going to try to work things through it here.
Yeah.
Entirely
And then
for
she
our
dies.
benefit. I feel like we got enough.
I don't know.
I mean, it was the most we've ever gotten for her per minute of screen time, you know?
I think you're probably right about that, and that's really sad.
Well, I mean, that's kind of just the way supporting characters work, you know? Not everyone has a ton of screen time. Like, who is another...
It's a scale, right?
But who else do we have that isn't a main character that we do have these deep relationships with that we know of? Like,
I mean, I think we spend more time with Martin Freeman, and he's been in the MCU for many fewer years than Maria Hill was.
Martin Freeman? He's in, like, Black Panther and what else?
He's in both Black Panther movies. So
I haven't seen Black Panther 2, but he doesn't do a whole lot in Black Panther 1.
Wakanda Forever. Yeah. He's in... Is he only in the Black Panther movies?
I think so.
Everett K. Ross.
That is his name, Everett K. Ross.
Yeah.
I was really...
Civil War and both Black Panther movies. Oh, you're right.
Right. And here's the thing. We can't even be like, oh, we know that guy is the personal right-hand man of Nick Fury. Like, we don't even have the ability to assign him a whole lot of connections other than that. Like, we can infer that she's been around since the original Avengers movie, and there's an associated level of trust between Nick Fury and her at that point. Like, we know that. Sure, they should show us more to really solidify that and how much this character means before they kill her. But bare bones it's there. Like, we know that more than any other character, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it really feels like they go back even further before the Avengers Initiative got started, almost. I mean, maybe started.
Well...
By the time Loki shows up and throws everything into hell in Avengers, like...
She's already working for him now.
He trusts her implicitly. He tells her to pack up the Phase 2 weaponry and get it out of there. He trusts her with that, like nobody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot more history dating back before that point. Yeah. Anyway, she's probably gone. If they're like, just kidding, she was a Skrull and she's fine, I'm gonna be pissed. Like, they cannot use Skrulls this way. They cannot tell us to feel bad a character died and then be like, just kidding. Not allowed.
They did it with the snap. They were like, hey, look, Spider-Man died.
I know. They did it with Phil Coulson too. They need to stop doing this. So yeah, I'm worried this show is playing with stuff that it can't handle. That it's trying to play with themes and complexities that it's not capable of doing well, and that concerns me.
Well,
so we'll see. It's only one episode in.
It's true. I'm just like, Disney has shown that they can do complex and with like Andor recently. Like they've shown that Disney can do it. We just have to
Tony
wonder.
Gilroy. That is, hey, Tony Gilroy, come write a show for it. He's just like, okay, but I'm writing it. And they're like, deal. And it's Tony Gilroy, award-winning Hollywood screenwriter, Tony Gilroy, who wrote Andor. And that's why it's so good. You know what Secret Invasion doesn't have? Tony Gilroy.
But it does have. I'm trying to see if I can recognize any of these names. I mean, it has Kevin Feige because Kevin Feige is everything in Disney.
Right.
But executive producer Samuel L. Jackson.
Right. Not a writer. Actor. Great actor.
Executive producer, though.
Yes.
So there's some leverage there, depending on... it could just be crediting. Weirdly enough, it doesn't actually just list a writer. It's got created by Kyle Bradstreet, right? But Wikipedia is not listing who wrote the damn thing.
They don't have a writing credit.
They might. Oh, they do on the
AI.
No, it has it on the individual episodes. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different writing crew for each episode.
Yeah.
Okay,
that makes more sense. Because I'm like looking at it, it's like, wow, there's like 12, well, probably like 7 or 8 executive producers and no writers.
I found our problem.
They're just winging it. They took a film crew out to Moscow and were like, all right, let's make something up.
It's just all ad-libbing.
That explains why Olivia Colman didn't know about the bug. They hadn't written for the bug. She didn't know to think about it. They just... Sam Jackson just Sam Jackson walks around every set of everything he's ever in with like secret spy cameras and plants them. And Olivia Colman was just rehearsing lines for something else, and they used that footage.
Oh, so good. So yeah, Kyle Bradstreet, Beto Dantas, Jonathan Hirschbein, Matt McCree, Halima Miraz, Jennifer Muro, Jovan Robinson, Brian Tucker. Cool. I'm sure you guys are great. We'll see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes.
Yep.
Well.
Yeah, I'll keep watching. I mean, someone also made the point that like Andor itself really kind of took 3 episodes to get going.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people were like the first 2 episodes, like, what is this? What are we doing? I'm not having a good time necessarily. And then it's like, okay, now it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So it might be something like that with Secret Invasion. Maybe after episode 3, it blows up.
Maybe
after 2. We don't know. I mean, they did have literal explosions in game 1. So hey,
game 1.
Game 1, episode 1.
Yeah, you know, we'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. We are over time, but I do want to talk about the 40K book.
The Infinite and the Divine?
The Infinite and the Divine.
Have you finished reading?
Yes.
Excellent. So, what did you think?
I liked it. It's really good. It's like smart writing. The characters are fantastic. I really think the writer's able to communicate the way that the Necrons live over millennia and millions of years. Just experience time completely different than us. In a way that makes sense and it feels right. And I like that.
It is an exceptionally good book for fleshing out a believable culture for the Necrons, which, as from what I'm aware, didn't really exist in like the fluff. Yeah, essentially, like how civilian quote unquote life for Necrons, like the broad outlines of there are dynasties, and sometimes they fight each other, and sometimes they work together. That's always kind of been there, but the specifics of how Necron court would be held, you know,
right?
When there's that, like this is like kind of a first look at it. But when I read that did that so well, they also counterpointed that they used a lot of models that are in game as like civilian tools as well. So like Trazyn, who has this giant gallery on Solemnus, gets into his catacomb command barge to take it between galleries, and that's like a model you can play on the tabletop. He doesn't have the writer didn't take the time to invent something new that they would just use to get around, they use it like a war machine. It's like using a tank to drive between your home and your office, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good detail. I like that.
Yeah. So while it nails some aspects of what Necron life is like, it also just weirdly skips some steps, you know? Which is also a huge problem the humans had as well. Like, it wasn't until, I want to say a couple of years ago, that they didn't really name any of the trucks that the Imperial Guard would drive around when they're not on the battlefield. Like, eventually they gave it something name like a Cargo 8, which is just an 8-wheel truck that holds cargo. It makes sense. But they were just like, yeah, they get into a car and they drive away. And it's like, what cars do they have? Well, they're guards, so they probably have tanks. Yeah. But it's just one of those things that has to be there that you don't think about when you're writing a book for a tabletop game, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so Treason, the Infinite and Divine is set over 8,000 years. Like, they have a really long game. Seems low. Well,
I'm not kidding.
They reference being alive for millions, but I don't know that they were awake for all of that.
65 million since the last time any of them saw their predecessors.
Right.
Saw one of their predecessors, an alive being rather than a machine.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to remember, but whatever. It's thousands and thousands of years.
Well, yeah. So basic background lore is the Necron tier were a galactic empire who lived very short lives. So all they did was build themselves death tombs and then die in them, you know. And eventually they came across a race called the Old Ones, who in certain parts of the lore are like giant space frogs. Cool. Yep. Sure. Who could basically, the giant space frogs made the orcs and the Eldari and potentially the humans as well. They seeded life throughout the galaxy. When the Necrons found them and they found the Necrons, they were like, hey, we live giant cancerous lives because of our poisoned stars, so our bodies just fall apart all the time. Could you maybe fix that? And they were just like, lol, no, get wrecked, nerds. And at that point, the Necrons found the Satan. And the Satan offered them permanent bodies.
Yep.
Which
permanent, undiseasable,
undying
bodies. Yeah.
They offered them eternal life in what's called the biotransference, which took them from being old and fleshy and dying to Terminators, just like metal robots, usually in the shape of a skeleton. And that happened 65 million years ago. They were all deceived by a Satan called the Deceiver.
Who has an important role to play in this book.
True. So basically, the basic plot is Treason and Orican are fighting back and forth, swapping something called the Mysterious Stereos or something, which could, in theory, open a tomb where a preserved Necron tier might live.
Right.
Yes, that is the general
preserved human version of their species.
A fleshy version. Fleshy.
Yeah, that's
organic.
Right. Organic. Organic, not machine. Exactly.
Yeah. And they both want them for different things. Treason wants to just put them in a museum and charge admission, I guess.
Right.
Although he does say he would, in theory, make his museum free to anyone who wants to come and see, that he would permit. He outwardly suggests that his museum gathering is benevolent for the species to enjoy and learn about their history and the history of other cultures. But he also kind of admits that the people who can actually get onto Celebnis is a short list, you know? And
it's really just for him. I think if nobody ever came to see it but him, he'd be fine with that.
Which is entirely true. Yeah.
Yes. That's Treason in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. And Orican kind of wants it to do genetic testing and see if they could rebuild their old bodies and put their souls back into flesh forms. But at the same time, he wants to transform into pure energy. And so I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's later revealed that he doesn't necessarily actually want it himself when he's being played. So it kind of makes sense that his, I want to become energy and I want to build real bodies doesn't necessarily line up easily because he's secretly being whispered to by the Deceiver. Spoilers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Trazen is as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, later on.
Which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's some hard stuff to write, is when your characters are being tricked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to give the reader some hints that this is going on, but you can't be overt about it because the character doesn't know.
Right. Right.
So that's some tricky stuff, and I think the author nailed it. That was great.
Yeah. There's so much in this book that happens because it is set over so much time. Even though they jump, it's hard to be like, so which part do we talk about? Because they have this court, and they're trying to establish legal authority for who owns the Mysterios, and their legal dispute essentially lasts so long that the court dissolves due to infighting.
That was my favorite part. One of the members of the court finds them and is like, "You dickheads, stop trying to kill each other. You're all in a lot of trouble." And one of them's like, did the court uphold their ruling? And the guy's like, the court is dead. It's gone.
The court's gone.
Oh, it's been gone for 200 years. And it's like, oh, that's right. Time means nothing to these mortal machines.
Mm-hmm.
They need some kind, an email system or something. It just, there's so many times they're like, oh, this changed a century ago. Crap. Didn't hear about that. And it's like, well, I think you could probably.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just adds to the atmosphere of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this book's really great for getting you to get a glimpse at other species as well. It's definitely Necron focused and Necron heavy, but you see orcs, you see humans, you see gene stealers, and even some Adeptus Mechanicus people, because Trazen, who is basically Ash Ketchum, can throw a Pokeball at any army and just capture it into a Tesseract Vault is what I think they're called.
Dimensional pocket.
Yeah. So he's just always got armies with him, but they're not necessarily Necron armies, and that's a lot of fun.
That is tons of fun. He's like, this pack of ravenous wolf-like alien beings sure could come in handy someday. Pikachu, go!
No. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a ton of fun. There's a couple times where it's like, oh no, things are bad for our heroes. And Trazen's like, Queen! I was waiting for him to pull out a space marine and be like, go!
He's got them.
Not happen, though.
He has got
some, though. Okay.
Yeah. I really love his perspective on the Horus Heresy, which is this cataclysmic event for the human empire that really destroyed the Emperor's dreams, and the galaxy was never the same. And he's just like, oh, that recent human civil war? That's so interesting. I've got too many helmets in my collection. I don't know what to do with them all.
Yeah, the way they both see humans is just they're the species that are extraordinarily short-lived. They will destroy any planet they settle on in a pretty short amount of time. But this empire thing is eternal and stretches on, and we can relate to that.
Yeah.
Right? So they do respect the empire as an entity that shows up and destroys worlds and stuff. But individual humans, they do not give a shit about.
No.
Right.
No. I think
there's a good moment where he's talking with one of his, a librarian servant that he picks up on a human world.
On Serenade, yeah.
And the dude's like, I'm gonna retire. I'm super old. And the dude's like, oh, you are? Weird.
Yeah. He's like, oh,
I checked, you were 20, huh?
Yeah, he's like, I picked you up when you were 20, and I bought you those fine augmetics and paid for your rejuvenate treatment and everything. And he's like, yes, that was 130 years ago, my lord. But I have picked a successor, and I simply wish to ask you one question. Do you plan to destroy this planet?
Yeah.
It's such a good moment because the Necron, who by all accounts shouldn't be a humanized character, totally gets the implied like satire or commentary that 40k has on humans, on actual real world stuff, which is climate change and we're destroying the planet, and simply responds with, after everything you've seen here, do you really think you need my help? Right?
Right. That was so good. And they do. They talk about how there used to be a natural monsoon season on their planet, but they screwed that up.
Right.
So now they have to like seed clouds to make the monsoons happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. So the industrialization of the planet does screw with the environment, but it was also like the orcs coming and stealing all the water.
Yeah.
So a bit of both in that case, but yeah.
Generally a problem. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really like the way that this code, like the message of a serenade, beats into like everything in the world, and the way that that's expressed in the book. It's like, oh, the street musician, you can't tell it, but the rhythm that he's playing is like 5-3, 5-8, 3-5, and it just repeats. It's an irregular pattern, but it repeats so often, and it's like woven into like the architecture of the building, and they don't even realize it. I've really found that
the shells of sea life grow in irregular patterns because of it.
Yeah. I always found that to be really, really interesting, to just be like, oh, here's these one human planets where everyone's kind of being indoctrinated and they just don't know it. you know? Oh, I thought that was really fun to watch. And Trazen spending countless human lifetimes hidden in under a church, reading books, like basically pilfering from an inquisitional library, essentially.
Yep. That's fun. A good thing. He's like, hey, assistant, can you find me this book, but one that was written before the Inquisitors? Chapter 2.
Right. Because that's the thing. There's a surprisingly large amount of fun in this book, right? Like, the orcs come down and they're trying to like steal the seas and destroy the planet and all the humans. And Trazen and Orc can team up to help, and they are like, they kill orcs, but they're seen by people. And years later, the people worship. They build like statues to the Silver Skull Space Marine chapter, who are just a little bit thin and a little bit too tall for normal Space Marines. Because they think that
Inquisitors come by and wipe it out because it's heresy, but Trazen's like, I'll take that statue.
And like the cathedral's got a stained glass window pane of Trazen, and Trazen's like, look at my window, Orica. There isn't one of you. And then they come back later, and somebody secretly smashed the window. It's so good. It's a lot of fun.
Sad. And there's this whole big constant theme throughout the book of like, do the Necrons have souls? The official doctrine is they left those behind.
Right.
After the biotransference, remove their souls. But it's like, I don't know. Trazen has an appreciation for music and art, and like he cares about people, and he has relationships, and like he appreciates nature. Like, what's missing here exactly? He's got a sense of humor. I'm just not. It just feels like it's a false belief that everyone's kind of under.
Right, but I think the one thing that you're supposed to really connect there is that their experience is like, he has those things, but he doesn't feel them. He's still just a robot,
Yeah.
So they're like his person. It's where does personality and soul intersect?
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
It is an interesting question, and I like Trazen is such a likable character, and so is Orican to an extent. That sure. I want to feel like, Necrons have souls, but at the same time, most of them don't. Like, we're very explicitly showed 7 or 8 characters of like named Necrons, and the rest are just soulless husks. They're slave to whatever their protocols are. They can't even attack another Necron without being given an Overlord level command or something.
So like when they find the ones during the orc battle.
Yeah, the ones that are coming out of the first gate. It's like, oh, okay. here's some other Necrons. We can't just talk to them and be like, hey, stand down. We're all on the same team. They're like, oh, we need to authorize our infantry troops to be allowed to shoot at basically themselves, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I was thinking of the like the council of Necrons. Like those, they've got personalities.
Yeah,
They
they do.
express annoyance at what's going on.
Right.
They can be petty.
Mhm.
Like they can be funny. Yeah, they're
But
fleshed out.
Those are fleshed out characters, but those aren't the majority of Necrons.
Got it.
Because even when they're at the council and the council's like, oh, well, Orokin should have to pay for damages that he did to this museum that Trezin has, one of the things that they suggest is in warrior servant tithes, basically, which is the basic Necron people who through biotransference are just autonomous, like drone people with guns now. Like they have no free will. They don't even have legal rights in society before that. But they'll basically just stand there until you give them an order. They don't take up great works like Orokin or Trezin ever do. You know?
Right. Just kind of sad.
Yeah. So, in the attempt to discover whether or not Orokin has a soul and he is potentially going to rebuild the Necrons, it's kind of a humanitarian effort to see if he can give souls back to the other Necrons. Because, I don't know, do you think he would give it to everyone? Or just, like, the important people? Do you think, like, because we've definitely seen that the Necrons will fight within themselves already for an advantage. Do you think all of them would be like, hey, let's go back to being mortal? Remember that fun?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's a question that we get throughout the book as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is that even something we want? It's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Trezin specifically has the thought like that's the default. Like we all say, sure, we'd like to have our bodies back, but like deep down, really? Is that really something you want? Are you okay with being functionally immortal, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially when it gives them superpowers as well. Like, there's a lot of contrast where it's like, oh, and if this fight had happened before the Great Biotransference, it would have been two old men in a library, like, barely standing without their canes in a pathetic show of strength. And now it's like, oh, and now Trezin punched through his rib cages, you know?
Trezin melts Orokin's spinal column, and then Orokin melts everything together and refuses it into a new one on the fly. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, neat. I do like when they meet the deceiver at the end of the book, and he's like, yeah, you guys think you're immortal? This is not immortality. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like, let me show you what
good moment.
True immortality is,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that final battle was a lot of fun, too. So they get tricked. It's a nice reversal where Trezin's the one who's fully deceived.
At the end, where he's...
Yeah, and Orokin's the ones who's like, don't do it, man, it's a trap. That was nice.
It was good. Really enjoyed that. And then, obviously, at the end, basically, like, the post-credit scene is... they've destroyed 6 of the shards, but there was secretly a 7th, and Orokin knows, and Trezin's feeding it slow little pieces of Zatan shards to, like, get knowledge. It's like, oh, God.
Friggin' Trezin. Kill them all.
Yeah.
But it's consistent characterization. Like, that's 100% what he would do.
He spends the entire novel collecting things for his gallery. He's not gonna not pass on such a rare specimen.
He's
now
not gonna not collect a god. Who do you
think
he is? Yeah. Yeah, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Glad you did.
Yeah, there's just so much in 40K. I know it's an understatement and it's cliche, but my goodness, it's ridiculous. It really is.
It's huge. Absolutely huge.
I posted a Brood War game today, and somebody said, so I asked how come the Reaver attacks are named Scarabs?
Okay.
And this person's like, it's a Warhammer thing.
Oh, really?
Reaver is intended to be a Necron unit.
Necron Reaver? It's not a unit.
Said, I don't think it was called the Reaver, but it's inspired
Oh.
by.
Oh. Hold on, the Reaver. What does that in StarCraft look like?
It's like a inch.
Oh, yes, okay. It kind of looks like a mechanical lava, but way bigger from StarCraft 2. So, what Necron unit would it be? Because the Necrons have Scarab Swarms, right? Like, that's a thing that Orican uses. Like, he manipulates a Scarab Swarm in Trajan's museum to get in to steal the Mysterios at one point.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure
They use
which.
scarabs to control humans too, and other Necrons.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I was a little iffy on exactly what they are, but they're basically mind control devices in this book.
Yeah. Kind of. Like, the one that he uses to control the librarian is, like, built into a necklace. So, you know, they're small. They should all be small enough to be that size. But usually, like, if you field them on the tabletop, they're in swarms. So they'll be, like, one little token will have, like, 5 or 6. I'll see if I can find some. If not, my brother's Necrons are, like, just over there. I could physically get you some. What else? Be easy to show. Man, why is where are the freaking scarabs, dude? Come on, Games Workshop. Wow, when I search for scarabs, it just gives me a totally different faction. Give me a second. I'm gonna wheel over and find my brother's stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so my brother has a little group of 4. Where's my camera? There you go. So there's 4.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're tiny. Like, they come in 4. What these do is, I think they have like a. You can use them as kind of like meat shields if you want, but they can also walk up to an enemy unit and then self-destruct on them. But in the Solemnus, the museum, they're also engineering scarabs who will dig away and excavate and build the museum complex itself. So these are like workers, basically.
Right. And in Brood War, you shoot a scarab at an enemy and it detonates. And does AoE damage. Yeah.
These explode. They self-destruct.
Yep. So that's it. So it's little leftover Warhammer stuff back when StarCraft was supposed to be
a Warhammer game.
Warhammer property. Yeah. That's funny. That's really cool.
That's neat. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Little connection.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good. Well, I think that's it. Wrap it up for today.
Wrap it up.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for hanging out for another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour with Somicron. Streamed live at twitch.tv/Somicron and also put on YouTube in VOD format at youtube.com/@Somicron. You can support it directly at patreon.com/Somicron and also at falconpaladin.store by buying merch. There's a lot of fun stuff out there. Steve the SCV merch. We got Robert the Zealot. We've got Terry the Overlord. We've got stickers and hoodies and all sorts of great stuff. So check it out.
All true.
And until next time, as always, thanks for hanging out with us today, and you take care of yourself.